All right, we are live right
Woo!
here. Right here. It is 30 interviews in 30 days. And today I have Super Joe Pardo. He is a business growth strategist. But to me, he's like the super podcast dude. Like he does all things podcast. Like I know, so during COVID, it seemed like everybody was popping up with podcasts because it seems like it's an easy platform. However, he has a strategy to help you do it in a way that makes it effective, helps you make money, gives you the right tools. So Super Joe Pardo, welcome, welcome, welcome.
What? What's going on, Show? How are you feeling today?
I am feeling amazing. Can't
That's
complain.
awesome. I am so glad to hear
Now
that.
I need to get me a bell too.
You
Bell,
do.
bell.
You do need to get yourself a bell. Yeah, I have been podcasting since 2014. A lot of people know me as a podcasting coach, the podcast conference person. But my actual well, I now it's now its own business as of COVID. Thanks to COVID, it's now its own business. The indie pod community is its own business, and then I have my business growth consulting company that most people don't even know the name of, which is 234 Solutions, because they know Super Joe Pardo.
You know what? I didn't know it had a name either. Say what is the name again? I did not know.
The official name is 234 Solutions, but nobody knows that name, right? It's the Super Joe Pardo brand. It's my way of bringing business growth strategies to the masses. And so I've been doing that for over 6.5 years now. But I've been around business my whole life. Grew up in a family business that grew to $100 million company. In 2014, I left unceremoniously. It was not a great time for me or my family. It wasn't good. It was not a good time. Ended in a fist fight between me and my dad. There was a lot of hurt feelings. But we've learned, we've grown, and mostly get along. Mostly get along at this point.
But what would make you leave $100 million company where you're making money to do independent work?
And I didn't even know what I wanted to do. So it was in 2013 that I finally told my dad I was going to go back to school, and I didn't really know. I still didn't know what I wanted to do. I just knew that I wanted to do something else that I felt like I was maybe more of a challenge and enabled me to help more people. As a kid, I grew up wanting to be a child psychologist. In fact, I cried on my grandparents' floor. My grandfather started that business, and they told me that they'd be proud of me no matter what I did, as long as I did it to the best of my ability. And my great was it my great great grandfather was like a street sweeper and stuff in Philly. So like and he was also a huckster, selling vegetables and
That's
stuff.
crazy. No
Yeah,
lie. Listen, my grandfather was too. He started out as a huckster
yeah.
selling vegetables in the street, but then he opened up a brick and mortar and he had a produce store, but he started as a huckster.
You know what's funny is most people would not know what that word even means if you're not from Philly, right? Like it means a totally different thing
I know, right?
outside of our area. So it's from street sweeping to being a huckster to and getting into trucking and the trucking industry and going from there with it. So they were like, hey, you can do whatever you want. Because I was like, oh, I'm the only boy. I'm supposed to take over the company. I didn't only have one sister. There was like no cousins or anything. So it was like kind of a wide open lane for a 6-year-old to feel that way. And but I really wanted to be a child psychologist to help other kids going through the divorce like I was. And so as I've gotten older, like while I didn't go to school for 10 years to be a child psychologist, I did, I've gotten to speak on stages, help kids write books, help business owners, help podcasters, help all these different people ultimately with their businesses or their business ideas, because it's all about what you dream about. So it's like, hopefully you're starting a business around that idea, or, I mean, doing it in some capacity for somebody else until you can make it happen. But yeah, so for me, like I grew up in business, and what made me like really want to leave, I mean, it took like 4 or 5 years of back and forth thinking of like, because everything I had was tied to the business, right? Like,
Mhm.
I didn't take a big paycheck, but I had a car, right? I didn't take a big paycheck, but I had enough to pay for my house, like the monthly mortgage. And so all these little incremental things, it just was like, okay, well, I don't have a degree. I gotta figure out like, what am I gonna do that I can do if I leave? And I have been building websites since 96, 97. So while my family most like grew up under trucks, I grew up in front of computers. So for me, like content creation, having a blog and writing, and there was a number of years where my writing was actually like affecting people, like in 2004, 2005, 2006, where people were like come up to me and they'd be like, I really, appreciate what you're writing and stuff like that. So I was writing for a very local underage club here in South Jersey at the time, or writing about that, around that. And yeah, so for me, I really didn't know. I mean, I had a DJing background as well, but I knew that DJing, the lifestyle was not for me, right? Like I did it when I was younger, but it was not for me. So yeah, I honestly I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I just, like I said, I was going back to school, and these teachers were like, "What are you doing here? Like what are you trying to accomplish, right? Because like you're going for your associate's degree, but you're going like 2-3 classes at a time, so it's going to take you forever to get a 2-year degree. So like,
yeah.
what is the like, and you're passing these classes with like A's and all. It's like, what are you really looking to get out of this?
Mm-hmm.
So ultimately, like another year went by, and I finally stopped going to school. But right out of the gate, like a month after I left the company, my first DJ album had dropped, Adventuratorium, and I was like, oh well, I'm
wait.
doing
You said your first. You slide over some things, and I got to go back to a couple things. You said your first DJ album dropped.
Yeah. So it was Disney music mashed up with hip hop instrumentals and rock instrumentals to tell the story of Pixar's movie Up. So the balloons. So yeah, it was a 2 CD release. We raised a bunch of money for charity, and I was doing a whole bunch of podcast interviews at the time. So I was like really kind of getting into this thing. Like I've been listening to podcasts since like 2005, mostly a couple of Disney shows, all around Disney parks and things. But yeah, it was those interviews that I was doing. I was like, oh, this is really cool. So I'm on a plane to Disney World with a friend of mine, and we're going to go run a race. And it was about a month after I left the company, and I was like, I was like, hey, look over these podcasts. Is there any shows that I missed that I should reach out to? And he's like, oh, you should give a listen to this show, Entrepreneur on Fire. And this was in 2014, May 2014. So he that show was not that old at that point. And I was like, why? He's like, well, they interview entrepreneurs. I was like, oh, I never thought about a show that was like just interviewing people. To me, podcasting was like a bunch of Disney nerds sitting around a table, talking about Disney parks or movies or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, I know a lot of people in business. Like I could totally do this. I've been creating content since 96, 97. Yeah, but I was like, I could do it in business, but I was like, I know a lot more people living their dream. So I started writing out a list of people. And when the plane landed, I registered the domain name dreamerspodcast.com, the Facebook page, and the Twitter handle before we got to the rental car from my phone. So, yeah, right. So, a month, not even a month, 2 weeks later, because I already had a music background, so I knew how to record. I just needed some help. And my Mr. Voice, Al Kessel, who I was just on his show, his Disney podcast, like a couple of weeks earlier, was like, oh yeah, just do this and this and this. And I already knew how to use WordPress and all. So for me, it was simple, right? So 2 weeks later, I launched the show, Dreamers Podcast, and then we went from 1 episode to 3 episodes in 1 week. So 1 week after doing 1 episode, we went to 3, and then I went to 5 just a few weeks later because we were hitting iTunes New and Noteworthy. Things were kind of really getting going really quick. And then of course New and Noteworthy ended, and I came off that super high of that, but yeah, I started working with some local small businesses that needed websites, branding, marketing, and then general business advice. And at the time, I didn't really know how it all fit. And, doing the Dreamers podcast, it was kind of more of like a life coaching kind of thing, but even though that's not really what I wanted to do. ultimately I changed the name to like Dreamers Podcast Business Lessons from Those That Live Their Dreams, which after in 2017 won Business Podcast of the Year from podcastawards.com. I changed the name to Business with Super Joe Pardo. And after 2 years of that, I went back to Dreamers, and then I was like, you know what, I'm gonna just settle on the Super Joe Pardo show. And now I'm in the midst of getting ready to not relaunch the show, but like actually release the show on a regular schedule again, because I was just doing intermittent episodes through most of 2020 and some of 2019.
Well, let's say when you talk about podcasting, everybody's doing it. It feels like everybody's doing it. How does it make money? Like you did all this work, you're doing all this, you're putting all into it. How does it make money?
So, I mean, there's a ton of different ways to make money with podcasting. It's not as direct as like, hey, make YouTube video, get views, make money, right? Like get monetized or whatever through the platform. So it's more open. So we made money. I made money through through building, like getting clients for website building when things were really tough. And like I had a couple of business clients, but it just wasn't moving at the time. So I made websites for people, connections, the people that I had on the show introduced me to other people, and it builds a network that I didn't have prior, right? Like I had some friends like in different parts of the world prior, because I had a lot of friends that were exchange students and things of that nature. And also like I was into gaming and things of that nature. So I had some friends in different parts of the world, but like once I did podcasting, started podcasting, like I started gaining friends like on every continent, like all over the place. Like you name a place and I could probably find a friend that I could stay there, right? From Hawaii all the way to Japan, like everywhere. So it's really powerful in that sense. So putting together offers and services and then having your podcast speak to those offers and services, building an audience around those offers and services really, really help, right? So I mentioned that like the Super Joe Pardo show has been on a somewhat hiatus for like the last year and a half or so, but I've been doing the Business Geeks podcast with Sam and Jen. Sam's in Australia, Jen's in DC. I've been doing the Indie Pod Daily Show for a good chunk of this year. And prior to that, I had done that show even before then as well, but really like turning it into an almost daily show now in 2020. And part of that was to promote things that I've created for it, right? Like we already had the conference, right? But the conference is a once a year thing. So creating virtual conferences.
How was the conference?
The conference this year, well, we did it virtually, but we did it in a way, instead of doing it, we were doing them in just Facebook Lives using Streamyard. So what we did was we did it in Zoom so that everybody could see each other. So everybody got dressed up in their favorite 80s attire, and we wanted to make it kind of fun because we're like, hey, people are tired of Zoom calls, and I to a certain extent I get it. So I was like, okay, let's put a theme around it. So we did an 80s theme, and some of the get-ups were really good, really, really good. So it went really well. Now, with that said, it wasn't as big of an attendance as we normally would get, but I'm not surprised by that, in the sense that when we did the ones that were just Facebook Live, like you joined our Facebook community, you can watch throughout the day. Like people would tell us like, oh, I got my iPad. I'm out mowing the lawn, listening to it in my headphones. I'm raking leaves. I'm doing the dishes. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. And I'm watching and I'm engaged throughout the day. Well, you're not going to be like doing any of that stuff if you're on camera in your 80s attire, right? So we had about a 50% drop in attendance from previous years, which is fine. I mean, look, when you have people reach out to you and say, I'm really sorry I didn't make the event show. I'm so sorry. Like I really wanted to be there. But and it was a 2-day event. So it was like, I'm not asking you to just be there one day. I'm asking you to be there 2 days. In front of your camera, like it's a lot to ask. I get it. So our next one will be another free event. That was a paid event for our annual Icon 6 event.
I know. I went to go get the tickets, and I'm not even gonna lie. I saw the price. I said, "Well, I'll have to catch you on the free."
Well, yeah, I know. part of it was we didn't really have any sponsors for this one. I think we ended up with just one sponsor or two. We ended up with two sponsors at the very end of it, but so which is fine. It's not the end of the world, and we'll be doing our free ones. So the next one will be October 24th. So we'll be putting a call for speakers and all that, and it'll be free. All you have to do is just join the Facebook community that's still rapidly growing day by day, which is absolutely awesome. It blows me away every time I look at it. So yeah, and then we'll be doing, we have our next in-person event scheduled for September 9th through the 11th. Assuming that we can actually do it in person, I'm hopeful. I'm optimistic.
I mean, but
we'll see. We'll
really
see.
Doing stuff. People are out there now. They're really doing it now.
Yeah, but to me, it's like I have to feel safe too. And if we're gonna be in a hotel all day in a pretty small room relative to how many people are gonna be in it, and people have to be willing to travel. So like, a good friend of mine, Tim Gillette, he's like, well, I can have this event down in Texas. It's not a problem. He's from Dallas. And he's like, I can have this event. It's not a problem. But he's like, when he started talking to all the people he would have come, yeah, I don't really feel safe flying. I don't really feel safe like being there all day. And if this was outdoors, under a tent, maybe, it'd be a different story. And it's just like, okay, well, it's too hard to get people to trust going, so it's not just about like, can we host an event? For a while there, we were going to host an event behind me in the backyard. We were going to
I was waiting for you were doing the backyard with it. What happened with that?
Right. So what happened with that was not as many people said they were going to buy tickets bought tickets, right? Because I was like, oh, we'll have 50 people. I'll get a big tent. We'll have tables. We'll kind of socially distance it. It's not a big deal. I have plenty of space. We'll get it staged. We'll get some porta potties so people don't have to come in and out of the house. We'll live stream it. And so even business coaches have coaches of themselves, right? So I'm talking to my one of my coaches, and she's like, Joe, she's like, you don't have a team there, right? It's going to be you. So it's on you to get the camera set up. It's on you to get the all the audiovisual stuff set up, the stage set up, the chair set up, the table set up. The tent will probably be put up by the company, right? So it's like, and maybe a few people would help with some of that stuff, but then you got to engage with the people that paid for a live stream ticket to watch. Right. So and the people that are there, and making sure that everything, and in my mind, I could probably pull it off. Ultimately, I ended up having a really bad my second bad ear infection this summer. Yeah, so the first day of the virtual event that we ended up having, and so ultimately I ended up canceling because we sold, I think, like 5 or 6 tickets, and I'm like, okay, well, by the time I buy a tent or rent a tent, I feel bad actually taking it away from some other company, like a restaurant or something that could like act, that needs it to potentially survive. So like, no, I'm good. We don't have to do that. And when porta potties are expensive. Like if you're not talking about just like the standalone one, like if you're talking about like a trailer, it's like $8,000 for like a weekend.
True.
Yeah, right. So it's like that's a lot of people that have to be, paying for tickets to be able to justify something like that. So it's like, okay, so like it wasn't as many people as I thought it was. So it's like, okay, let's just shut it down. Let's go straight virtual so we can sell tickets and guarantee a situation where like I'm able to focus. Well, I ended up getting that ear infection. So Amy J and Carrie Eric ended up doing the hosting stuff for me and seeing it for the first day. I was on the couch. I was like texting back and forth with them, making sure all the speakers came in, we're getting in and all that. And then I ended up taking a nap for an hour or two as well, because I felt like somebody was like jamming a fork in my ear. Like it was not good. It was not good. So the next day, the second day I was there with Amy. Amy shadowed just in case I needed to get up and go do something. But I ran the show for the second day. So like I'm so honored that they took over. And even Carrie was like, I never thought I could run a 10-hour event myself, or with Amy, like do it myself.
So 10 hours and how do you feel that this benefits the community? You feel like they're just getting all 10 hours of constant content, not constant. Well, constant contact. Of course, I love constant contact, but 10 hours of constant going. Do you think that people are gaining enough information, or do you think it's an overload? What do you feel about it?
Yeah, I mean, well, all of the events that we've done, I've gotten such amazing feedback. I mean, I was getting feedback during the day saying like how amazing Amy and Carrie were for carrying the load for the day. And that that everyone was so happy and just it's just such a great vibe about it. So I mean, at any given time, I think we had like 25 to 30 people in the room at any given moment, which again, I knew it was going to be light because you're asking a lot of people to for that kind of an event, especially over 2 days. But just like compared to how we would have our free ones in the community, like obviously those had much bigger numbers, but it was also A, free, and B,
Mhm.
not asking people to sit in front of their camera for 8-9 hours or whatever. I mean, we did lunch and things like that, so it's like people got breaks and there was breaks in between. But yeah, no, I definitely think that there was enough more than enough content. We had amazing speakers throughout the day, Hall of Fame podcasting speakers throughout the day. And we did a workshop. We did 2 workshops. I think ultimately, I think it worked. I don't think it worked as say well from a number standpoint as the free ones in the community, but it definitely speaks to like there was some new faces in the crowd, put it that way. There was people that had not attended a previous event before of ours, and our hope like is that by September of next year we can do that in-person event at the hotel here outside of Philly, and potentially start looking at doing more events outside of just the Philadelphia area. Now that we have a different name from Mid-Atlantic, we were Mid-Atlantic Podcast Conference. In 2019, we changed it to Independent Podcast Conference. And so one part of that is being able to host podcasting events elsewhere as well.
So, what are some tips that you can give people who are starting out equipment wise? I see your awesome equipment. I don't like headphones. Is there a way to use your desktop without having headphones?
Well, I mean, you're doing that right now, aren't you?
I'm using a laptop. You aren't you using a desktop?
I am, but you don't have to use headphones. But the thing is the computer is going to chop up your voice anytime that you and I talk close to each other because of the delay, right? Because my voice is coming out of your speakers the moment. So your mic is basically saying, "Oh, the mic, the speakers are on, so I'm gonna keep it quiet." And the moment you start talking, it opens up. So it's like a gate effect. It's not bad, but it can definitely be better. You don't have to have a microphone and headphones like I have, especially if you're doing a solo show, right? Like you could just talk into your phone and have that recording there. The microphone in your phone is a lot better than most microphones that you're going to get in any laptop in most cases. So you don't have to have all that big equipment. You can start with just your phone. If you really don't like, I mean, headphones will always make it better because the software isn't trying to gate the mic to turn it off when you're not speaking. So, I'm a big proponent of just like start with what you got, right? Start with just the phone. If you have ear pods, like the wired ear pods, like you can use those, pop those in your ears. The microphone in there is pretty good as long as you don't let it like rustle up against your collar or anything like that, your shirt. From there, you could get like a USB microphone. I wouldn't recommend the Yeti unless you really kind of know what you're doing and have a really quiet environment around you when you're going to use it. It's not a bad microphone. A lot of people give it a lot of flack. I used it for 2 years prior to upgrading to the Shure SM7 7B.
So what is the one? Because I know everybody was telling me about the Yeti. So which one do you have?
So the Yeti is what I started with for 2 years. But the Yeti is really, it's tough because it picks up like every sound in your house.
Oh no.
And that's things like you can turn the gain down. Like there's ways that you can kind of get around it. But it's not what I would recommend. What I would recommend if it's just you talking, that I would just get like an Audio-Technica's ATR 2100 microphone. I think it's the 2100X now is the newest flavor of it, but or some form of that microphone, the 2000 the ATR 2005, something in that range, because
ATR is the brand. ATR
no,
2005.
Audio-Technica is the brand.
Audio-Technica is the
Yeah.
brand.
Yeah,
And
like Techniques, but without the ICE or ICS at the end. Technica, or yeah, Technic. Yeah, I guess without the S, Technica. Yeah. So that that brand I would recommend. You could get it like a Blue Snowball. It's cheaper. It's like $50 instead of the $100 Yeti. It's not bad. It's not great. It's just okay. I would really recommend that. Some people really love the Samsung Q2U. So Q2U is from not Samsung, but Samsung, Son. So Samson. So one of those mics, because it's a close talker. They both have headphone inputs, so you can just like plug your headphones right into there, so your headphones are coming to here rather than like down to your computer, and then you can actually hear yourself as well, which is it's kind of nice to be able to hear yourself and you're not muffled like through the headphones. Like if I was just hearing your voice, so right now I'd hear silence, but with this I can hear my voice back in my headphones, which helps for monitoring. And like if I hit the bell, I can hear the bell in it, so I know it's activated and things of that nature. So yeah, so those mics are great options. They're like somewhere between $60 and $100 each. Yeah, I mean it's not like to me. I have an Audio-Technica ATR 2100. It's on an arm behind me in my DJ setup over there. It's solid. Like I kind of wish I could use it sometimes, just because then I'd have no mixer on my desk. Like I'd have less wires and all that. But I mean, there's something to be said for the sound quality that comes out of the upgrade. But the upgrade is expensive, right? Like you have a $150 cloud lifter, you have a $400 microphone, you have a $400 mixer, like. It adds up. I mean, I've had this mic since 2016, so now I'm on year 4, four going into 5 with having it. And the only reason I got it was because we had our daughter in 2016. So I was like, I need to not have the whole house picked up. I need to just get right here. So I was like, this is the mic to get. And I think I got it for $350 or $300 or something like that at the time. Maybe even I think it was like $300 at the time.
So you're serious about this.
Oh, well, yeah, 2 years into it. Yeah, I definitely was serious. So I wanted to have something that was a close talker and all that. So it's come around. And then you get, the arm and all that, so you can get up the arm. Like this arm is $100, but I mean, you can get a cheaper arm. I wouldn't really recommend getting a cheaper arm because it's not that they don't last, but they're usually not as long. They're not as versatile, and you're still going to end up spending anywhere from $25 to $50 on it. So it's like, this is the only piece of equipment that has lasted since I started podcasting, from the beginning. So it's like, is it worth $100? Yeah, it's worth $100 because it's probably going to still be here. Like after this microphone breaks or whatever, it's still going to probably be here. It's a Rode PSA 1. I did a whole review on it. You can check it out at the indiepodcasters.com site.
Indiepodcasters.com site. So
Yes.
let's talk about the you skipped over this too. You wrote 2 books. You skipped over
4 books.
4 books.
4 books. Yes,
so,
4 books.
I mean, that's constant revenue. Do you promote the books? What books are they? What are the names? What are they about?
Yeah, so the first book was called Joe Pardo's 31 Life-Changing Concepts. That one was a bestseller on Amazon. It was kind of like an experimental book. I basically took 31 life-changing concepts that I try to live my life by, put them into a book, and then I did I'm not an artist, but I play one in the book. So I drew out artwork I used Sharpie markers. So I did the whole book in Sharpie marker, and drew a picture for each of the chapters, which I said I would never do it again, but then I ended up doing it again with my second book, which was How to Dream Big and Win, which that one's actually a coloring book because I wanted to get people back in the frame of mind of being a child again. So it's a book, it's a coloring book, it's got image, and I didn't have to color it, which was a huge, which was ridiculous because at the end of the day, the color version of that book was only sold for a very short period of time because of how expensive it was to have that much color in a book. So I ended up doing a black and white version, which I could sell for much like half the price. And so there's a handful, like a handful of color versions out there, but the black and white version is what you can buy. I think if you buy the PDF, you get, or the the Kindle version that has color on it. But yeah, the amount of coloring it takes to color with Sharpie marker, my hands were killing me. I had to sit in front of a fan because that much Sharpie should not be consumed by one person.
Right. It's like, oh, wait a minute.
It did not take long. So I would sit in front of a fan so that I could do the artwork for it. So yeah, so with the second book, How to Dream Big and Win, I didn't color it in. I did the imagery, didn't color it in. And then the third book is called I Self Empower. It's like 168 self affirmations done in a, if you've ever well, I'm sure you have the oh, what's it called? The like the repetitive artwork where you see the same image like 6 times in different colors and stuff.
Mhm.
I was watching the Banksy documentary actually through the gift shop, and I got done with that, and I went to go to sleep, and I woke up and was like, wow, what if I did that with words? So I did 168 self affirmations, and each page is the self affirmation written over and over and over again, and then I put like a couple secret messages in the pages of the book. So each page I inverted the color. So instead of black text on white, on white paper, I inverted the text to be white text with black background, and I used that as like a paintbrush to paint like a character on each page, like a letter character on each page, and then it spells out some hidden messages in the book. And I did that in 10 days. So I went from
I feel like you super is serious. Like you're really super. You have some super talents and super skills that really, it's just not, they're not normal. They're super. That's just superpowers.
well, thank you. Yeah. So that was I think the first 3 years had those books out. By year 4, I wrote Sales Won't Save Your Business, which I think there's like a couple rebrandings of it, but Sales Won't Save Your Business is like the official name, the main version. And that book took almost 2 years to write because it's more of a traditional book, but it's a workbook inside of it. So it's all about, fixing your business, taking it to the next level, working through your team, your offer, and your process, like I call it the top. And that enables you to just really like focus, like build the data that you need to see where you need to go with your business. But yeah, so that book. That book does sell pretty well. All the books sell decently. The Sales Won't Save Your Business sells well because I specifically made a ton of versions of it. So there's like Sales Won't Save Your Salon, Sales Won't Save Your Preschool, Sales Won't Save Your Casino, Sales Won't Save your hotel. So all these different versions exist for like SEO purposes in Amazon. And I didn't promote any of them. And it's like Sales Won't Save Your Car Dealership. All these different versions have sold really well, better than the Sales Won't Save Your Business version, actually.
So let's go into Sales Won't Save whatever it is, your business, your podcast. Sales won't save it. So meaning people coming in won't save it, or being able to sell won't save it. So
yeah, so sales in general will not save your business because first off, if your processes are broken, you might actually be losing money on every sale and you don't necessarily realize it, right? So that's where you need to start, is like, let's actually take a look at what it's costing, your costs are, and figure out from there if you're because you could have a ton of people in the building, but like if you're not making money on every single one of them, you're going to have a problem. You're going to have a bad time. So, so it really starts with that, right? Is that's why sales won't save your business. You could have tons of people all making sales, doesn't make a difference if you're losing money on every sale. So it's like starting there, figuring out the numbers, figuring out the processes, and then starting to work, like optimize them into a way that not only the customers feel good about, but your team feels good about, because it's, the team, the offer, the process really is where you live or die, right? You could have you could have the best burger ever, but if it takes 45 minutes to craft that burger and you're only charging, say, $10 for the burger, you probably didn't make any money, right? Like, if something is, you have to really break it down to the building blocks of what you're doing and how you're going to make money from it. Another, there's a couple other ways that sales won't save your business, and part of that is in the process, like I just explained the example with the burger, right? Like if it takes 45 minutes to make one burger, your cost on that burger is going to be huge, and if you're not selling it for a high enough price, then it's going to be game over quick. Plus the other thing is if your customers aren't having a good experience, sales still will not save your business. So they come in, you got the sale, but they hated the process. You got a negative review out of it, or you got a customer that's mad and not going to come back. So you didn't get a repeat sale. You didn't get a super fan out of it. You didn't get nothing. And if you just put your head in the sand, then that's the result that you're probably ultimately going to get, is a buried business. So does that make sense? Like that's why sales won't save your business, and processes, focusing on your team and your offer will.
So that's basically for brick and mortar businesses, not necessarily your online or service businesses.
No, sir. I've worked with some really big service businesses. So it's service businesses. It can be the same too, because again, they have their own processes and how your customers interact with the offer, and how the team interacts with the customer, and how the team interacts with the offer as well. It all is reciprocal to the customer having a great experience and wanting to do more business with you and spread, evangelize other people about the experience that they had. So that's really what it comes down to. So I've worked with online entrepreneurs. I've worked with service businesses, brick and mortar, inventory-based businesses, pretty much any. The only business I haven't really worked with yet is a restaurant. There, I haven't cracked that one yet. So I'm looking forward to, because I'll tell you, I've watched every episode of Bar Rescue, and it's pretty much one of the few shows I do watch, and it's like I mean all of it just makes sense. I mean, top to bottom. Mm-hmm. Getting little slivers of each of it, understanding how it operates, to be able to come in and apply what I already know and apply it there. So that's one area I'd like to get into at some point.
Oh, I definitely work with restaurants, but what are your marketing efforts like? So you have a podcast, you have the indie pod community, you have all these things. So how do you effectively market a podcast?
So, when it comes to marketing, if it's figuring out who's the listener, like who are you really talking to, so that who is, how to speak like them and speak to them, speak with them, and know that where they're hanging out, right? Are they hanging out on LinkedIn? Are they hanging out on Reddit? Are they hanging out on Facebook? Where are they going, right? Are they going to certain restaurants or certain bars, or where are they hanging out? And then making sure that you're trying your best to bring your message to those places in a way that's not kind of spammy. So it's finding ways to crack that nut. Like if they're on YouTube, then maybe you need to be making turning your podcast episodes into shooting it in front of a camera, making it into a YouTube video, putting it there, and over time that will grow, right? So it's figuring out who you're speaking to, what do they look like, where do they live, what do they drink? What do they drive? What kind of house do they live in? What kind of family life do they have? What kind of background do they have? How long have they been in business, or how long have they been doing the thing that they've been doing? Like, the more you can help figure out those things, the easier it will be for you to be able to take that message to them, right? And they'll be looking for it, right? So you'll know how to think, like, okay, what kind of searches are they doing, right? So like, now I can create a post with that podcast episode, with that YouTube video, and pop it in there into Google, and hopefully, if I add enough words to it, if I serve the purpose enough, I'll get on the first page of Google, and all of a sudden I'll be getting that traffic that's looking for that, and yeah.
Yeah. So is that how you market yours, and have you been going through that process? I mean, because you have 3 different podcasts, 3 different ones, so that's a lot of marketing and finding your people.
So with in regards, so with Business Geeks podcast, it's an effort between the 3 of us. Me, me, Jen, and Sam. And
Sam.
yeah, right. Well, that's why you can see why I got confused. So it's an effort between the 3 of us to promote it through our channels, whether it's through through Facebook and LinkedIn, through those channels. So that's a Facebook Live that we broadcast through using Streamyard, and that's where a lot of that marketing comes from, is like sharing that out and getting a couple hundred to over 1,000 views per live stream. Though, like, we all 3 of us agree we could be doing a much better job of promoting it and all of that. Like, but we also know, like, when I brought them together, because they hadn't met before, when I brought them together and was like, let's do this podcast together. Like, it's not supposed to necessarily be this thing that we're like. It's not. We all have our own businesses, right?
It's not
like
your bread and butter,
right? So it's supposed to be a place for us to come, hang out, have a great time, have some laughs, geek out about business and topics and things of that nature. News that's in the in the business world and things of that nature. So it's like that, and share some stories. So it's like, that's what it's supposed to be. It's not supposed to be like this hardcore, like, lead generating machine. When you talk about the indie pod, that we're doing the posts is what I'm doing, right? So I do it to a Facebook Live, it gets transferred over to YouTube, that gets transferred over to the to the website, and then I add the SEO to get it so it could potentially show up. And so it's coming up for searches, it's coming up on YouTube, it's coming up in the Facebook group. So it's like just trying to like utilize the content I've already created as much as possible and putting it in as many places, whether it's on the Facebook page, in the community, my own Facebook profile. Plus I have the Instagram for that as well as the Twitter. So it's like all these things, like between the hashtags and everything, just getting that message pushed out to podcasters and getting them to understand that and know the brand, right? And identify with the brand. When it comes to the Super Joe Pardo show, it's mostly been about writing, pretty much the same stuff, shooting the content, getting it on YouTube, putting it into the podcast RSS feed so people can listen to it, writing the post around it so they can be searchable and found, and then sharing it to the Super Joe Pardo, social media platforms, right? So it's at Super Joe Pardo literally everywhere. So
Super Joe Pardo, he's everywhere.
Yeah, right.
Have you seen Super Joe Pardo? He's everywhere.
That sounds creepy. I don't know if I want I want that.
That's the marketing there. He's everywhere. No,
like Santa Claus.
Pretty much. So, you mentioned StreamYard, and I just want to ask a comparison type question.
Yeah.
What is your say? Why StreamYard over Zoom? What are your? Because I know you use both. What do you? I guess you think StreamYard is better, or what are the differences?
For producing events, so do you, like right now we're streaming on Facebook, right, through Zoom. Mm-hmm. Are you able to see the comments that are coming through?
I just decided that I have to look. I said, I'm
Well,
looking
you're
for
looking
it.
at your phone, so that's a difference right there. So
Oh,
StreamYard puts the comments right on the side, so I can like inject them into the lower third of the broadcast, right? It gives me more control over who's being shown, how the blocks are. It allows you to have up to 10 people in it. I would argue the video and the audio quality are better. You don't need an app. It runs natively in web browsers. The recording, it doesn't let you do separate recording yet, but hopefully it will soon. But the recordings are pretty solid. It's you don't have to convert them like Zoom with longer recordings. You have to convert those, which I did not realize because I did not really use Zoom prior to
oh, wait
the
a minute. Okay,
event.
wait a minute. You have to convert them to what?
To MP4s. So, and I don't know if you have to do it on shorter recordings for Zoom because I'm not like I don't personally use Zoom a whole lot outside of when people invite me to Zoom rooms. I mostly just send them to my StreamYard account. um when you download it, like it has like this conversion process, and the only reason I learned about that was because of having to do the virtual event back in September. Was having 2 days worth of video took like hours to convert them, so I could edit them up and share them in the IndiePod University. So so that's one of the like that's some of the changes, right? I can do a ticker at the bottom with a scrolling message, and I can have my logo on the top, and I
Oh,
can do
wow.
overlays. I can do video, like I can just like one click, like play a video where it just plays video with audio, like as an intro or an outro or anything like that. So there's things like that that's just like, um, to me it's better for broadcasting than here. It's like we're recording our call and we're also streaming it into Facebook. Like, oh, and by the way, we're streaming it into Facebook versus like StreamYard is we're creating a broadcast for Facebook,
Okay,
for
so
YouTube.
but does it so it goes to Facebook, does it go to any other platform or is it
Yeah, YouTube, LinkedIn, and it can go to any RT. Was it RTMP? I forget what I think it's RTMP. Uh,
so
yeah,
basically I see that everything.
Restream and Twitch. Yeah,
Oh,
Restream
and Twitch.
And Periscope. Yeah, RTMP. It can go to anything you have a custom key for. So yeah, so it can go pretty much anywhere, and you can do up to 3 places at once with the base count, and I think it's like 8 places or something with the pro
And how much
count.
is the base account? Because it can't be any more than Zoom.
Uh, that's a good question. I'm looking at it right now. Let me see, billing. So the basic account is $20 a month.
Okay.
The professional account that lets you go up to 8 destinations instead of three is $39 a month annually. If you don't do annually, it's 25 and 49.
That's not bad. I mean Zoom is 15 and you're right. I can't see the messages. I missed a bunch and I see them now. Shout out to Eddie, DJ Kid Disco and DJ Square and they've been commenting, yes, and they're agreeing with you about StreamYard being better. You can see the comments when you click. Yeah, I've been to StreamYards. Matter of fact, I was on your platform on StreamYard, so I did
Yep.
see, but I just wanted to, for anybody else that was listening, to make sure they see the difference between StreamYard and the Zoom. I've been thinking about StreamYard. I mean, I'm doing 30 interviews in 30 days. So I was thinking about the switch, but the only reason why I was doing Zoom is because most people, even if they're not technically savvy, they
Mhm.
understand Zoom because the majority were doing it. I think,
That's where it's going. Yeah.
yeah, only because some people aren't technically, inclined.
Yeah. I mean, for the most part, I mean, we've had probably over 100 plus people jump into the StreamYard over the 9 virtual conferences that we held from March to August. And yeah, I think, well, we would hold the tech day the day before. And then, a lot of times it wasn't that they needed help with their tech more than they needed help like getting their microphone actually selected, or, I could still hear them. They just weren't using the right microphone, or their lighting needed help or something, so it was a good hour that I would spend every 2 weeks just, talking with some of the newer people jumping into the Zoom, jumping into speak at the conference and things of that nature. So, I don't disagree with you, especially, if they're used to using Zoom or whatever. It works. But from a hosting standpoint, StreamYard definitely is better. They, because you can see the comments, you can post the comments up. It becomes much more interactive, and you're not looking down at your phone to like see the comments,
I know.
or
Now
open
I
up
agree
another
with that,
browser.
because I missed a bunch yesterday. They were going on, and then something made
That's the
me.
worst.
Yeah, and then something made me look down today. I can barely see. So if it was up in front of me, it might be better. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Everybody said, "Hey, Lucinda says that amount isn't bad at all." Yeah, the amount isn't bad at all. I would have to agree. So I'm gonna look into doing the whole StreamYard thing. To see
I could send you an affiliate link that'll give you a discount code too.
Oh, I like discount codes. So let's
Yeah.
look. We'll look into it. Oh, so I guess Square Knot, you've been using Square Knot said I guess it's been using StreamYard. So I guess you like it too. So we'll look into it. I just wonder, because you're right. I don't like having to look down at the phone. It just kind of it takes away from everything. So we'll look into that. We'll look into that. My other question in comparison is, you mentioned WordPress sites. I have
Yeah.
WordPress sites.
Mhm.
What are the different? Why WordPress over a Wix? Do you know anything about Wix or?
Yeah, so Wix is its own like walled garden. In the past, I mean, they don't currently have this problem, but in the past they've had issues with like Google saying that they weren't gonna SEO, like crawl their websites and stuff. That's not currently. That was probably like 5 years ago at this point, but just one of those things is like, a knock. WordPress is amazing because of the fact that you can take WordPress to so many different hosts. You can't take a Wix site anywhere else. I've built one or two websites in Wix, not for myself, but for different clients that were like, I gotta have Wix. One of them is actually a somewhat of a celebrity from our area. I can't think of his
Ooh.
name off the top of my head. He was a running back for the I forget what team
So
he
you're
was
saying
playing
sports?
for.
I know nothing.
Oh, okay. He was from Camden. I can't think of his name.
Oh, wait a minute. He's from Camden. Is he pro?
He was pro. He was a Heisman Trophy winner too.
Wow.
Yeah, not recently, but
I mean, but the fact that he's from Camden and he won a Heisman Trophy, you know what I mean?
yeah, I feel bad now. I can't remember his name. I'm looking it up.
Yeah. Maybe I was thinking, yeah, maybe
Let me
Google it a
see.
little bit.
Oh, Mike Rozier. That's a
Mike
1983
Rozier,
Heisman
awesome.
Trophy winner. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he played pro. I'm like 90% sure that he played for Houston Oilers, the Atlanta Falcons, Jacksonville Bulls. I don't know. That was an American football team, American Football League team, and the USFL, the Pittsburgh Maulers.
Oh,
It's a terrible name, but yeah. So in the NFL, he played for Houston Oilers for 5 years and Atlanta for 2 years. One,
and he's
two,
from Camden.
5, 6 years. Sorry, 6 years for Houston. Yeah, he's from Camden, New
Awesome.
Jersey. Yeah,
I wonder
he
where
played
he is
for
now. And you
United.
said you built a
So
Wix site.
yeah, they wanted a Wix site because they wanted to be able to like easily update it and stuff afterwards. But what I found was when you built the site, it was supposed to like automatically be mobile friendly. So like if you look it up on your phone, it should like
Supposed to be
do the thing.
responsive, right?
Yeah, responsive. But it wasn't. So I ended up having to build the site twice, basically. Like build it once as like the responsive version, and once as the the full layout. And that was probably about 2 years ago at this point, 2.5 years ago, maybe closer to three. So it wasn't, it was, it's not a great experience in that regard, um, but that's what they specifically requested that, so that's what they wanted. So Wix, I don't think Wix is bad. I like the idea that I can own the content and I could take that content, like I'm with I host with DreamHost. I could take it to another host tomorrow if I wanted to. Relatively pretty easy. Lots of those hosts have like easy ways of extracting the WordPress stuff and like popping it into their in under their umbrella. So to me, that's why I wouldn't go with Wix. Squarespace isn't as bad. Squarespace is more modern in that regard of like having a responsive website and all. But it's the same problem. You're in a bucket that like I think you can export those. You can probably export both to a WordPress site. How well it's going to actually export is to be, that's the problem. So at some point you're going to end up on a WordPress site, more than likely. Unless you have like, where I would recommend it, and even then I couldn't recommend it because like if it was like a small niche site that you're like, this is just for this reason, I still couldn't recommend it because you're spending so much money. Like you might as well have a WordPress site that you could like expand upon later and have all these other things. There is a site that came up that I was talking with one of our Icon community members called Pod Pages, which
Pod pages?
yeah, it's kind of I thought it was podpages.com. Oh, it's podpage.com. But for just $5 a month, they have it for free as well. But for just $5 a month, like you basically can create a whole website around your podcast. So like you get an about page, like all the basic features of a website, just it's in a template. It's like one of the like 20, 30, 40 or whatever, how many templates they got. But the idea is that you don't have to like know anything about building a website. You just get, you go to your host, you get your podcast host, and then you go to Pod Pages, pop all that information in, you put in your about, and it'll just automatically generate, boom, 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 like your own website.
That's if you wanted. So have you ever well, could we do a WordPress training, like a beginner maybe?
Yeah absolutely we could.
Yes.
Yeah, we absolutely could do that. Yeah,
All
just
right,
tell me, let me know when you want to do it and we'll do it.
Yep, I'll pop you some dates and we'll see whether they work. And I definitely want to do a WordPress training. I actually learned how to do WordPress back in 2016.
Oh, awesome.
Right? And I built 5 sites. I built 5 sites out of off of my one host. But I saw some things that I don't think are right. Sometimes I go to Google and some odd page pops up. That's the back end of my website.
That's really odd.
That is odd.
I'd have to take a look at that to know what's going on.
Yeah, that was so odd. I was like, this is the back end. This has nothing to do with my pages, but it's the back end. It's something I see when I'm creating. It's the back end, but that's in Google. So yeah, if we could just do like a training class, and maybe, I don't know if you want to charge, but we'll talk about the details later.
Yeah.
So if anybody's interested, and if anybody's interested in the WordPress class, you have to sign up, and you may have to pay. We'll figure that part out. But
we can work that out. Yeah, I'd be happy to do that. It's not a problem.
That's awesome. I think that's great. I think I don't know of anybody doing it actually locally.
Yeah, locally I don't. When I was working with the HopeWorks in Camden organization, we were looking at doing, we would do some similar type trainings and stuff like that, but it's hard because like you get people who don't necessarily, like they're trying to be do-it-yourselfers, and like we're also trying to be a business to be able to help them, but they end up just being a do-it-yourselfer, and hosting the class wasn't enough of a benefit on the monetary side, so it ended up not being a thing that we did a whole lot. But But I don't mind doing it. I don't mind helping run a course here and there. I mean, I'm not in the web development business, just so everybody's
No,
clear
no,
here.
we're not. Neither,
But
none of us.
I have a ton of experience in doing it. I've been a web director at one point in my life, an IT director.
Wow.
I do it every day. I'm in WordPress all day, not all day, but a good chunk of my days.
Oh wow, yeah,
I
you're doing
spent
it
there.
more than me. I need to go update mine. I changed my theme and uh
Oh
and
boy.
then I had to do everything over. So instead of leaving that theme, I just left it the old. I just reverted it back to the old one and just left it.
Well, that's and you know what and when you change themes, that you run into that problem because everything isn't like it's a theme, yeah, it's not a template, it's a theme. So
It's the theme. Hmm.
that can be a problem. So like you change themes, like there's a theme that the theme I recommend 100% of the time because it's $60 one-time fee and you have it for I've been using it since 2015 on the same 60 but I mean I've had to buy it several times over for different websites, but it's called B theme and it comes with like I think they're up to like 500 templates or something like that. So it's basically like you pick the template and then you just like you go in and you just fill in the blanks of the one, what you change it out to be your site.
Maybe
um
I should have gotten it. You did suggest that to me. I did talk to you about that, and you suggested that. But then I ended up going with Thrive themes because Thrive. I had already had these Thrive landing pages, so I just figured it might. Since I already paid for Thrive landing pages, I just let it work together. But yeah, I mean, I'm gonna get back into. But more importantly, if we do the whole training thing, maybe I'll really get into it. Then I'll show you some stuff. What's going on over there because it's some stuff. Another comparison, podcast. You mentioned it just a few seconds ago. Podcast platforms. What everybody's using Anchor. You laugh.
yeah.
So, tell me about that. Tell me about your thoughts on the podcast platform. Anchor versus RSS. Is there other platforms we don't know about?
Oh, well, I mean, there's tons of platforms. I wouldn't to me, I wouldn't use Anchor. Excuse me. I wouldn't use Anchor for anything serious because okay, it's free, right? But you're on a platform like YouTube, they could kick you off tomorrow. Like if they decide that you're not viable, they will kick you off. So if you use like a reputable host, like a real host, you said RSS versus Anchor. Anchor's still using RSS. Podcasts are RSS. Podcasts are only considered podcasts because they're in an RSS feed. That's like it goes hand in hand. So other hosts that you could use, Blueberry, Libsyn, crud, Podbean. There's tons of them out there. But those are like the three big ones, right? That
So
I
which
would
one do you recommend? Which one do you use?
I actually I actually use a combination of Blueberry's WordPress plugin called PowerPress, and I host it myself off of the website. But it's not necessarily the recommend because if you don't have the right host, some hosts won't let you do podcast hosting, like MP3 hosting, like Bluehost. I mean, it's been a while since I looked, but Bluehost won't let you do it. My recommendation would probably be Blueberry because they stand behind the freedom of speech. So like they're not kicking people off because they disagree with what they say or anything of that nature. Todd Cochran's been, a pillar he just celebrated 16 years of podcasting himself from the beginning. Libsyn is great because Libsyn they're like the behemoth. They're like I think pretty sure they're like a publicly traded company. They have some really amazing people behind them. Elsie Escobar, the Dave Jackson, and Rob Greenlee is there too, and Rob. Crap, I'm blanking on his last name. I feel bad. Hold on a second. I'm gonna find it. Rob.
Weren't they one of your sponsors as well?
Libsyn was not, but Blueberry has been a sponsor in the past. If to at many of our events. Podbean as well has been a sponsor over the years. Um, oh, why am I? Oh, Rob Walsh. Yeah, sorry. I apologize, Rob. He's been podcasting a long time as well.
Not Rob Walsh from from that the small business thing, right? What's the name?
Mm,
Small Business Expo? Not him.
no,
Okay.
no. This Rob Walsh he's been the vice president of one of the vice presidents of Lipson for a long time. Um, he lives in where does he live? He lives in Tennessee right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's a good guy as well. So like, and then there's Podbean and Shannon Moore, is one of the higher ups there. They're great. So there's a lot of opportunity there to figure out like what podcast host really fits how you want to work. Personally, if you're going to use WordPress, using PowerPress is kind of, to me, it's a must. It just makes sense. And then going with Blueberry's hosting, makes a lot of sense to do it. Yeah, I mean, so those are the three I would look at out of the gate. I mean, there are other ones out there. Beware of anybody that's giving it for free, because free is not a business model. So it's not, it's definitely not
I think
recommended.
that's a golden nugget. Let's give that golden nugget. Free is not a business model.
No, I mean, there's so many, because everybody is like, oh, I want to get a quality by like Google, or maybe Spotify will buy my podcast, not podcast, but like whatever, right? Like whatever service or thing you create, like it's not. And creating a sustainable business model is so much sexier. Let's do that, right? Let's
Mhm.
support each other and make it reciprocal, rather than be like, oh, everything's free. Like, hey, like
Right.
free is great until all of a sudden, the people that were relying on your service are no longer able to. So like, if this then that is now no longer free, you have to, they're moving to a pro model, but but it's pay what you want. So like, we'll see how far that gets them, because I don't think that's going to be the case. But it's like, oh, well, it's basically the white flag of like, well, we thought we'd be acquired by somebody by now, and we weren't. But even if you are, like, I mean, there's so many businesses like that, like these smart home companies, like the smart thermostats and things. They're like, oh, it's, the service is free. It's free. It's free. Like we update the app, we do all these things. But it's like, as time goes on and money starts you start burning more and more money, they start to realize like, well, if we don't have some kind of subscription model here, we're not going to be in business, and that app is not going to get supported and going forward. So, I mean, there's only so many thermostats you can sell in the world. I mean, there's a lot you could sell, but like at some
Yeah.
point you're going to
Yeah.
hit the wall. You're going to hit a wall. So it's just like that whole thought process of like, let's create something that actually is sustainable for people to be able to use for years to come and not have it change. I know there's plenty of cameras, like the camera, like those, like the not webcams, like the security cameras you can get. Like some of them are like, oh, it's you can get like 1 gig free, but then all of a sudden like, oh nope, no longer, you can't use it, or you can't use the smart hub for your home lights anymore unless you pay $5 a month. I forget which company did that. Like all of a sudden, all these bulbs, bulbs and the hub and everything that you invested in, all of a sudden, if you don't pay $5 a month and you're held hostage, it just ain't going to work anymore. You're going to be back to hitting light switches instead of like telling your Echo to turn on the light. So things like that, it's just like, that's not good. Like that's, or you have it have Google, right? How many times does Google create new products and then cancel them within six to 18 months?
How about
Google's
that?
terrible. Like Google is, I mean, I use Google Gmail and Google Search, but past that and like Calendar and their Google Docs, like they're pretty terrible at creating products, because I mean, how many times has GChat been renamed, right? Google Talk, G Talk, Google Voice, and then before that was Grand Central. Like they just, a friend of mine was told me like basically what they do is they have it set up so that if you want the bonus, like Shelly, you want bonuses, create a new product. So basically, like once we've exhausted all the bonuses for creating said product, we just move on to the next product and create that new product. Even if it's the same product we already had, we just create a new one because that's how we get bonuses.
That's how you get bonuses.
This is it's absolutely terrible. So, you know, but that's how they operate, and they have more money than they know what to do with, and that's why they operate that way.
Well, let's
So
I know it's getting late, so I just want to go into your business services and how people can what's the process for your business services? You do business coaching, consulting. What are the business services?
yeah, so I work with businesses on their team, their offer, and their process. So if you go to superjoepardo.com, right there, if you go to the bottom of that page, there's a form you can fill out. And then I'll be in contact with you. But basically, if you're feeling like you're overwhelmed with your, getting to the point where you're feeling overwhelmed with your business, if you're getting to the point where you feel like I need more money, like there needs to be more revenue coming in, or we're making all the sales. Where's all the money going? Like at the end of the month, there's 2 pennies to rub together, and it ain't making 4 pennies. I don't understand it. If you're in that position, then that's where I can come in and I can help you figure out the data, lay out the data, and help you work through those problems. If also the other types of people I've worked with are people who are like, hey, I want to be able to sell my business at some point, right? I want to cash out. But the problem is you're doing 80% of the work. Well, that ain't worth a whole lot, because that means that you're 80% of the value of the company that is going to be sold, and you're not probably going to stick around very long. So you've limited who can buy the company and who who would be interested in that. So the idea is that I've come in, I've worked with these companies and helped to build the structure and the processes out so that they can take some of that off the business owner and really increase the value of the business itself and open up who it can be interested in buying it. So it's like you're not the sum of your client list, right? You become more than that because you have people and more assets and things invested in the business itself. So it's not all about just creating jobs, saving jobs, but really it's about figuring out what the process is, get maybe technology introduced and integrated into the process that you have, and getting those systems set up in place so that your team and your customers can both interact with the company better, so you can interact with the company better, so you can have a better relationship with it and really start to build your business for your lifestyle, right? And those are the places that I really operate in. So if you're looking for your systems and processes to get fixed, really what it comes down to, I'm your guy. So go to superjoepardo.com and we can make that happen for you.
Awesome, Super Joe Pardo. That sounds great. Love to get the processes in place. I appreciate all your knowledge. Thank you for hanging out with me. 30 interviews in 30 days. This is Super Joe Pardo. I do have a podcast. I think I'm going to switch it to, I might have to switch it to Blueberry or something like that, because I'm on that free one,
Well, I mean, it works, but just remember, like, I hope you're saving the files. That's all. Because the other thing is if they get rid of it, like that means anybody who's subscribed to it might not be able to find it after the fact if it ends up getting switched around. So like be in control of that, right? And it was really about owning your brand. From
another golden nugget. Owning your brand. Absolutely. Yeah. Ding ding ding. I'm gonna get me a bell too. I'm telling you, the golden nuggets. Own your brand.
Well, thank you. So it's always an honor to get to talk to you, Shelly. It's I absolutely love it. I look forward to doing the workshop with you. That'd be fun.
All right, thank you so much, Super Joe Pardo. Enjoy your day.
Thank you.
I don't know what to say. I'm gonna say happy anniversary to you.
Yeah.
Enjoy I'm sure you're gonna have some fun. I mean, let loose, let loose. No more work today.
Yeah, I am done for today. I gotta go do some things, and then hopefully we get to spend a little bit of time together tonight with the little, we have a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, so
yes, it's so adorable. They're a part of the brand as well. I mean, they get to do commercials and everything.
They absolutely are. Ava absolutely loves the cameras coming on saying hi. I'm surprised she hasn't come through the door behind me to see what's going on. She's probably in school at the moment. Let me see. Yeah, it looks like she's up.
Well, yeah,
She's supposed
it's
to be
school
upstairs
hours.
and doing some learning, some
Oh, we're getting a
homeschooling.
whole lot of likes and when you see all that.
Oh, thank you so much, people. It's
You see
awesome.
that? You see that?
Awesome to be
Thank
here.
you, DJ Square Knot, Lippy, who else? Eddie Davis, Cinda, Lucinda, Marcia, everybody. Thank you for Charles. Look, oh wow, look. And you know, I'm doing all this with no glasses on. So thank you so much for watching me. I saw all the lights going up. I wanted you to see it, even though I couldn't, but I wanted you to see it.
You gotta get you some like reading glasses or something, just like the little like fine line ones.
I do. I have them. They're right here. But I like my look without them. That's all. I have them. They're all right here. All my glasses. I have pair in the back, pair over here, pair over here. I just have glasses everywhere.
Well, you gotta own the look. Come on now, Shelly.
I haven't yet. Can't do it yet. One day.
Well,
All
thank
right.
you
Thank
again.
you so much. You have a great day. Super Joe Pardo, everybody. Go to the website, superjoepardo.com. Superjoepardo.com.
Thank you.
All right. See you later.